Hi, I'm Lita Leapin.
And I'm Jim Gordon.
And welcome to another edition of Our City Tonight.
Well, folks, we spent the latter part of October here based at one of our favorite restaurants, Hydra. It's into November. We're still here. You'll find Hydra in the Exchange Hotel on House Street.
Yep, and there's a lot to see, so while you watch this, we're going to go inside.
Well, in our last episode, if you caught it, you saw us do a little flashback to Kathy Valentine of the Go-Go's. We interviewed her last year, and they've just been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. As we begin our 7th year, we're looking back at a few more musical memories over the last 6 years.
Yeah, and let's go really old school. Nick Gilder. I grew up listening to his music with Sweeney Todd, as well as his big hit, Hot Child in the City.
You could go anywhere in the world in 1978.
Yeah, he was so fun to talk to.
He really was. One of my faves, because I grew up in Ontario and they were based in Burlington where they grew up, was the Spoons and Gord Depp. We had him on the show last year. I've interviewed a lot of famous people as you have, but when you interview people from your youth, and this was definitely one of them, and we're looking at some clips there. It was great to talk to Gord, and good to know that he, like Nick Gilder, will be back on the road performing. Fingers crossed in 2022.
Yeah, and we had Honeymoon Suite, Dermot Derry Grehan on our show as well. That was super fun too. New Girl Now, of course, we're humming all these songs.
I know. I love their other song more, Wave Babies, which is one of my favorite video shot in the Niagara on the Lake region of Ontario. You know what's great too, Lita, is we really were diverse with our music and who the people we had on. Like we had Carol Welsman on. One of my faves that I've known her for 20 years. She's in LA, her new album out, and Stacey Kent. What can we say? That's one of the highlights of 2021 was definitely having this one
Definitely.
on.
That was a dream come true. I have so many of her CDs at home.
Yeah. And lastly, what you're looking at is local singer-songwriter Victoria Anthony. She was on our show, wow, Lita, time flies, 2 summers ago. She has done very well. Along with her in that interview was a familiar face and a regular on this show, actor, writer, director Natalie Bolt, who looked after that video with Victoria. And wow, what a great segue, because here's Nat Bolt now back on our show. First time since the summer of 2019 when we did that interview with you and Victoria. Welcome back.
Thank you, and congrats on your 7-year anniversary-ish.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks, this is great. Well, our audience certainly will recognize this lady from her popular TV series playing Penelope Blossom, the perfect villain.
Perfect villain.
But you've transitioned now from being the perfect actor villain now to directing.
That's
and
right.
When we last sat with you, you were going through
The Warner Brothers director's
Warner
program.
Brothers.
Yeah. So that was then, and then I've always been a director. I've made my own short films. I directed music videos, and I always expressed to the showrunner and producers of Riverdale that I wanted to direct it. So that's quite a process, and it's a thing to take on. I mean, anybody who watches Riverdale knows every Riverdale episode is a marathon. Everything happens every week, and so it's a. I was really lucky to get one of the biggest episodes of the season, of season 5, called Dance of Death, chapter 93. And it happened to be the episode that had all the stunts, all the drama, all the wrap-ups of the complex emotional storylines. No spoilers if you haven't seen it, but a lot happens, and I got to really do, a lot of action and stunt work, which was fantastic.
And you must have done very well, because I'm just looking down. It was hailed as the best of the season by many fans.
Yay!
Hey, one of the things I've always found fascinating for actors becoming directors who do both. Talk a bit about the dynamic going from one of the stars of a show to, okay, now I'm going to be directing. Obviously, you're respected, but talk about the transition from I'm on camera, now I'm standing behind with the team going this and this, especially when it's an action-driven episode like you just described.
Yeah, it's definitely a transition that is not for the light-hearted, for the faint-hearted. For the light-hearted, yes. For the faint-hearted, no. So, I think, we've had other actors, well, mainly Machen Amick and Robin Givens and I were the ones who were interested in directing. And so the process of getting everybody's heads around that started about a year before I came on. And so the actors on Riverdale are very generous, and they understand and are probably interested themselves, especially some of the younger parts, in making this transition at some point as well. Mm-hmm. So you pay it forward, but at the same time, I was really, really well trained. I come from a background of directing and of coaching actors as well. casting, etc. So I'm quite comfortable in that space. Also, as an actor, you understand the vocabulary that other actors need to hear.
It's important. It really is, yeah.
And I think one of the most frustrating things for an actor is when you have a director who comes from a more technical background and doesn't want to give notes, or is a little bit intimidated by the actors, and so you don't really get much to play with. And so my feeling is actors who become directors are great actors, directors, and have the vocabulary and really understand what they might need to give the performance that you all want. So it's a beautiful transition, really exciting, but also, of course, you have an amazing crew.
And you've been very busy because not only directing, you've just released a short film. We need to talk about that, as well as some of the other movies you've been involved in. Busy, always busy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I've always wanted to have more control over my creative process than just arriving and acting out lines. And so that's when I first started writing films. And so my latest one that I've just released is a ridiculous spoof. It's a kind of like a Tarantino spoof. It's a little take on Reservoir Dogs.
Perfect.
Without releasing too much, some really mean girls arrive, and it turns into an absolute raucous, chaotic comedy. So it's called Attack. A-T-A-C-K. So
and where can people see this?
Well, it's gone into the film festival circuit now, and it will do the rounds, and then it will be released. But they can watch on my Instagram at Nat Bolt, and there's updates and brilliant behind the scenes photographs, and we have our cast that we have in it. They're all Vancouver locals.
Nice.
Who are doing brilliantly well. We've got Garfield Wilson, who's in Schmigadoon, and Snowpiercer. We've got the amazing Diana Bang, who's just been in Why the Last Man, which is exploding. Aaliyah is got a lead role in Legends of Tomorrow, Aaliyah O'Brien. So yeah, we've got a beautiful cast, and it's just going to be putting these fantastic Canadian faces out into the world. So yeah, I'm super proud of that, and it is genuinely very funny.
Oh, that's pretty excellent.
Yeah.
And it's amazing too when you think time flies. Reservoir Dogs almost 30 years old.
Yeah.
So, hey, listen, we got to wrap, but you are very active on social media, so people can always keep up with you on that and look for everything that's coming out. Congratulations on everything you're doing. It's great to have you back on our show.
Thank you for having me.
Let's not go 2 more years before having you back.
Too much to talk about.
Yeah. Hey, it's Natalie Bolt. Thank you for joining us. Well, our last episode, we enjoyed the cabana here at Hydra Restaurant. Come check this great place out, downtown Vancouver. Right now, though, it's a great pleasure to welcome the award-winning writer, playwright, and journalist. He has worked at the Financial Times of Canada, 16 years at the Globe and Mail, Washington bureau chief for Maclean's magazine. He has also turned his talents in book form to a number of Canadian icons, including Mordecai Richler, Anne Murray. His latest is a 3-volume set on iconic Leonard Cohen. It's a great pleasure to welcome from Midtown Toronto, Michael Posner. Michael, welcome to our city tonight.
Thank you very much. Nice of you to have me.
Great to have you here, sir. Boy, lots to talk about with this wonderful artist. What's great is that you've divided this up into 3 parts, and when we get to part 2, which is available now, here we are looking at it right now, it's early 70s until the late 80s, which I always found interesting, almost that second act in his life where lots of changes, stumbles, chaos, both professionally and personally. Tell our viewers a little bit about what was going on with Leonard Cohen in the 70s and 80s.
Well, so the book begins in 1971. He's a pretty much a new artist in a sense. He's released a couple albums. He's just starting to make his name in the world as a singer-songwriter, and it's a struggle. He has quite a broad base of appeal in Europe, but he doesn't make much of a dent even in his native Canada at that time, and certainly not in the United States. And so that is a struggle. At the same time, he's embroiled in a relationship with a woman who becomes the mother of his children that is tempestuous, rocky, and will end badly after 7 or 8 years. And at the same time, he's pursuing a number of other liaisons that, of course, add to the complications of his personal life. He tries to find some solace in the world of Zen Buddhism, attaching himself to a master, Zen master in California, who helps him enormously, and with whom he remains really until the end of his life. It's an extraordinary relationship. So it's a very, as I say, a very tempestuous period in his life, and spans a number of albums, a number of European and North American tours, and a number of relationships.
What's really fascinating about this read is the unique approach you take. This is 90% or 95% is just talking to the people, the acquaintances, the close friends, the former lovers who knew him, which was really interesting. And I got to say, Michael, there's so many great observations and quotes in this book. The one that really struck me about Cohen was from Canadian poet Dennis Lee, and I want to get this right. Who was Leonard Cohen? Cohen was an open question to which he was forever entertaining new answers, even if they flatly contradicted yesterday's answers. That really, to me, in my limited knowledge of the man, personally and professionally, that really seemed to sum up what I was reading in Volume 2.
I can't improve on Dennis Lee for sure. A brilliant guy, and of course he knew Leonard. He edited his Book of Mercy in 1984, and they weren't close friends, but they were certainly friends of a kind. And he's a very insightful and sharp mind, and so I think he really nailed Leonard. Other people say much the same thing in different ways, maybe perhaps not quite so cogently or brilliantly as Dennis, but that to some extent does sum up Leonard. He was a bit of a chameleon. I think somebody else describes him as a kind of a gentleman chameleon. You never knew quite what you were going to get with him. Part of that was his psychological makeup, because he was afflicted with depression, deep depression, for much of his adult life. And so you might encounter him on a dark day and he could just entirely ignore you. Or you might encounter him on an up day and he'd be, hail fellow, well met, your best friend, let me buy you a drink. And so there was that aspect to him, a very mercurial character.
What's interesting too, and I've seen this with a number of artists over the years, and that is that early loss. You allude to it at the very beginning in reference to Volume 1. I think of Cohen. I may be wrong on this, you may not agree, but I think about Lennon and McCartney, that early loss, and this loss of his father seemed to haunt him for the rest of his life. It was a lot with his searching for that.
Correct. Yes, indeed. He loses his father when Leonard is 9 years old. The father was never entirely well, and the relationship was always a bit awkward, but he dies of cardiac disease when Leonard is 9 in 1944. And you could say, and Leonard himself did say, that, in some respects, he may have spent his life looking to replace his father. For many years, that figure becomes the poet Irving Layton during Leonard's college years at McGill, and thereafter that friendship endures for the rest of both of their lives. And after Layton, there is Sasaki Roshi, the Zen master I alluded to earlier, and he becomes a kind of father figure to some extent for Leonard, and in many ways Leonard's closest relationship, Sasaki Roshi. So yes, absolutely, there is a kind of gap there. I mean, it's really not my role or within my ability to assess the psychological importance of that loss, but you can certainly see that there was a gaping hole in his life.
Just a great read, Michael, and I'm kind of going in reverse because I didn't read the first one first, and now I want to go back and read that. So it really is something. I mean, reading the second part as a standalone was great. I look forward to the third one. Michael, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to hold this book up again. Of course, the book is available now, thanks to the folks at Simon & Schuster for bringing Michael and the book our way. Michael, continued success. I look forward to reading Volume 3 when it comes out, and thank you for all the work that you do. As a literary fan, you are one of the greats in this country.
Thank you so much. It's really nice of you to say, and really, really very nice of you to have me on. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Well, what you're looking at is our city tonight at the Vancouver International Wine Festival. Boy, we love covering that. Back in early March 2020. Cutting to us at the present time. The reason we were showing that, Lita, that was the last time we covered a gala, charity or otherwise, 18 months ago, but we were back safely, cautiously. We just took our masks off a couple of seconds ago to come on camera. But we're here again doing what has always been a big part of our city tonight.
Which is the Arts Umbrella Splash Gala. And the last time we covered this was 2 years ago, Jim. Very excited to be here. They're taking all the right precautions, so we feel very safe. So do all the guests, and it's just starting to fill up behind us.
Yeah, we should say they've got a really great idea too. They've got these little bracelets you can wear. Everyone's got their masks on, of course, but the bracelets on that says, hey, I'm still a hugger, or keep 6 feet, or give me a fist pump. I mean, they're thinking of everything as we all come back slowly. But it is good to be back, Lita, and we're going to talk to a lot of great people.
Yeah, so let's get right to that and meet some of the people that are behind the Splash Gala.
Well, if you're a regular viewer of our show, you're seeing a guy that's actually becoming quite a regular on our show. That's okay with Lita and I. Paul LaRoque was on our show, like a month ago?
Yes.
Yes. It's good to have you back, sir, all kidding aside. We can't do one of these events, which we haven't been at in 2 years, without talking to you. You're the president and CEO. Big shot. Hey, we had you on the show a month ago, as I mentioned, talking to Lita about Arts Umbrella.
Yes.
Give us a little brief background on that, if people missed that on Granville Island, and about some other things we'll get into, including how many people you're expecting tonight.
Well, first off, Arts Umbrella is Canada's leading arts education organization for young people. And we talked about being together a month ago, and we, after 42 years of growing and developing always on Granville Island in a wonderful space, we opened our doors just a stone's throw away in the former Emily Carr University after putting $28 million in renovations into this gorgeous building.
Good to hear, sir. Let's talk a bit about the crowd tonight. I know that, again, Lita and I keep emphasizing for our viewers, cautiously, safely, this is being conducted tonight. How many people are you expecting tonight?
Well, tonight is a hybrid event still, but we are really thinking of it as a celebration. We will have more than 600 people attending Splash, 350 people here at the Fairmont Hotel Vancouver.
Point to make, yeah.
And the rest will be in their homes, not only here in Vancouver, but across the country and beyond. We've got a huge contingent in Toronto as well that are all tuning in, and it's really exciting.
Last question for you, Paul. Of course, we're here. The big auction's happening. You've got a great online component. And as you said, by the time this is airing, of course, in early November, everything is done. But where can people who are seeing you here right now in this segment tonight, where can they go to maybe check out more about Arts Umbrella and maybe give some support?
Well, we would love nothing more than to share the magic of Arts Umbrella and our mission, which is really about inspiring young people, our next generation. And the best way is to access us online at www.artsumbrella.com. And I would love to give you a tour of our beautiful new home and to share the story that's 42 years in the making.
Well done. One of the good guys in town, folks, Paul LaRoque, who's the president and CEO. We go right to the top and get the big guys here. Thanks, Paul. I know you're busy. We got you early.
You.
We're going to go over to Lita, who's with, I'm going to say, 2 other pretty nice people as well.
Well, thanks, Jim. I get the privilege of talking to the co-chairs. Now, both of you have been co-chairs for Splash Gala for 5 years. It's been a little bit weird the last couple years, but you still managed to raise some incredible money for this great organization. I'm going to start with Christy. So we're going to bring that over there, Bruce. Thank you. Christy, your group raised $1.1 million last year. Tell us how you did that.
So it was a combination of micro parties and virtual. So we had people from across the country watching Splash on their computers. And then we had 6 micro parties of 50 people because that's what we were allowed in different venues. This was one of the venues. And it was fantastic. People loved the art. They were super generous, and we ended up having a successful night.
Wonderful. And just really quickly, what happens here at Splash? Just for anybody that doesn't know that's watching.
Sure. So starting in January, we collect art from different artists, and Bruce and his team vet it, and we put together a great collection that we think will appeal to everybody and is a great sampling of great art. and then we sell tickets, and people come tonight and they viewing the art behind us and having drinks. And then there's a sit-down dinner, and there's some student performances from Arts Umbrella, from the kids at Arts Umbrella. And then they auction off the art.
Wonderful. Now, Bruce, you are a big art collector. What a great person to have as a co-chair as well. Tell us a bit about the art and the artists that are here. Well, not just here tonight, but the art that's in the auctions, live and silent.
Sure. We have a huge wealth of artists in Vancouver. We're way beyond our size in terms of art production. And Arts Umbrella is such a beloved organization in Vancouver that our artists generously give their work, and they give us some of their best work. We have 100 artists represented here. Everything from up-and-coming artists to our most celebrated artists in Canada. We've got Stan Douglas chromographic print that's valued at $60,000. He's representing Canada at the Biennale. We've got Russ Nakar, who's recently graduated from Emily Carr, who's on everybody's list these days. We've got some of our most seasoned artists like Angela Grossman and Colleen Heslin and Andrew Dadson, and we've got a little something for everybody. We've also got our most diverse group of artists that we've ever had. BIPOC artists represented, and we're trying to be as diverse, and that's what people are interested in.
Born in Egypt, raised in Lebanon, and she studied classical sculpture in Paris. We have Marie Khoury with us, one of the very, very talented artists here at Splash Gala. Now, we're in the reception room. Everybody else has gone into dinner. Thank you for staying with us because it was so loud in here. We wanted to be here with your beautiful piece of art behind us. Marie, thanks for being on Our City Tonight.
My pleasure.
Well, great. Now we want to jump right into it and talk about your art, your sculpture. Tell us a bit about the piece that you've donated to Splash.
This is a body of work that's called Les Fleurs du Mal, where it relates to the poems of Baudelaire, who wrote a lot when Paris was being rebuilt by Haussmann, and they've created these big avenues. The work lasted 30 years, and it really pained the Parisians to live through that phase that was very difficult because they saw everything around them sort of transform in not a so good way. But today when we see these avenues, finally it did have an impact on the city and it beautified it. So I'm trying to make a parallel with cities in North America, in China, modern cities that grow up high and forget somehow the human element that walks these sideways and that does not have this kind of human contact because of the gigantic cities that are being built. So I'm trying to bring in a little bit, I'm speaking about humanity in a way by speaking to the poems of Baudelaire.
Beautiful. And what are the mediums that you work with?
Oh, I work with bronze, marble, wood, stainless steel. This is resin, hard-coated and automotive painted. So, you know, it really depends of the body of work that I'm handling and sculpting and the material that is best suited for it.
Well, your work is very multicultural. You could see from your background and everything that you've done, it's such a delight. We could have you on the show for at least half an hour and talk about your work. We might just have you back for sure. Thank you for sharing some time with us today. And
my pleasure.
Beautiful that you've donated this beautiful piece of art for the live auction today at Splash Gala. Well, we've gone from the cabana room and now I'm behind the bar with Batu. You are the assistant general manager, but you find yourself a lot of times behind here when it gets super busy, making some great cocktails, which we have in front of us. And let's start with the one in the middle. I am very familiar with that one. That is your signature.
Absolutely, yes. So we, in the middle one is the Holiday, which is our one of the most popular and signature cocktail. So middle of the downtown, heart of the downtown, so we're always in the Holiday, even in the winter season.
Especially here, yes, yeah. Definitely.
So we do have a Holiday here, which is includes some tequilas, some lime juice, little bit ginger syrup and martini bitter to balance sweet and sour, because we would like to balance the sweet and sour side together. So when you are in middle of downtown and having a holiday, please have the holiday.
That's perfect here. Well, Hydra definitely is all about holiday. The next cocktail is one of your standards as well.
Oh yes, so second one is one of our other signature cocktail as well. Name is Cypress Sour. So we made from the cocktail made from the Evan Williams, which is bourbon whiskey, and we have a little bit lime and egg white. That's why we do a double shake and double strain to make it a little bit foamy. And on top, as you guys can see, there's some bitters as well.
Wonderful. That one will definitely warm us up in the winter. Now, we love our happy hour here. We're always here at Hydra. You have some great happy hour cocktails, and they change every couple weeks.
Yes, every 2 weeks we change our happy hour cocktails.
Wonderful. So what do we have in front of us?
Right now we do have the ginger whiskey. So we use one of the Canadian premium whiskey, and we absolutely use some ginger syrup and top with the ginger ale. And as you guys can see, there's some ginger candy on top. It's also help your digestion as well.
Oh, excellent. So medicinal as well as very tasty and refreshing.
Yes.
Well, that's wonderful. Always great cocktails here, and the food is brilliant. Well, for dinner, everything, but happy hour is spectacular. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Well, Jim's joining us now, but there's no more cocktails left, Jim.
Ah, yes. Thank you, Lita. You're such a support. So anyway, joined by this familiar face, Claire, GM here at Hydra. Claire, thank you for hosting us the last bit of October and into November. We've enjoyed filming in your cabana, too.
Yes, you guys are always such a pleasure to serve. Thanks for joining us again.
Anything else you want to throw out about this wonderful place?
No,
or any of your other places?
Yeah, well, they're all great, and we'd love to have you at all of our locations, Alouette, Seaside Provisions, and Hydra. And thanks for showcasing the Cabana, which is one of Vancouver's lightest and brightest, most beautiful private dining spaces. So give us a call to book.
Yeah,
it's Claire, GM, yes, and thanks to Mark and everybody else. And I'm gonna try to get them to make me a cocktail now, because I wasn't here for that part.
Will do, Jim.
Thank you.
Will do.
From Hydra, I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Lita Leapins.
We will see you on the next edition of Our City Tonight. Outdoor wear for Jim and Lita provided by Helly Hansen, alive since 1877.
Soluzione Spa Products, a national luxury spa product distribution company located in North Vancouver, British Columbia.